The final day of the 2018 MLS Adidas Player Combine is upon us from Orlando City Stadium. The last opportunity for some young players to prove themselves to MLS coaches before Friday, when they will hear what city and what club they will be a part of to begin their professional careers. I'm David Goss, joined by Bobby Warshaw here in the booth as we get ready for this one. Team X in white going left to right, and Team Predator in red going right to left. Our first game of the day. We'll have another one following this one at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And a lot of excitement for the coaches around here, because for the first time at this combine, one of the Generation Adidas class members, Mo Adams, out of Syracuse University and England, is here, had visa troubles, just showed up, and he'll be playing in his natural holding midfield role. For Team X in white, it'll be Ben Lundgaard in goal, who came up with the huge penalty kick double save in the last game. From right to left, and his defense, we've got Carter Manley, Josh Morton, Andre Morrison, who had a wonder strike in the last game, and Ben White. In midfield, Mo Adams in the holding position. We'll have Diego Campos and Paul Marie. And then up front, Gordon Wild, Franzi Perot down the middle, and Francis Atua-Wene will be out there as well. On the flip side, for Team Predator, it'll be Jeff Caldwell in goal, UVA goalkeeper, won a national championship, one of the most solid goalkeepers in the nation throughout his 4 years. From right to left defensively for them, it'll be Mark Segbers of the University of Wisconsin. Marcus Fjortoft and Alex Bumpus will be the center back pairing, and Corey Brown, the New Zealand Youth International, who's played a lot of left center back, will be out wide at left back. The midfield in front of them will be Leon Schwartzer, and one of the stars of this combine so far, Francis Van Kazel, a Division II player out of Caen, France. And in front of them will be Rafael Santos, playmaker from VCU. The attacking three from left to right will be Samuel Gainford, John Beccaro, the signed senior and National Player of the Year from Wake Forest, and Albert Ruiz. And we're just looking over these lineups as these players come out. Two already changes from the coaching staff. Team X coached by Bo Ashayani, his assistant Adrian Scola of Solar Soccer Club. And it looks like Paul Marie is going to be in the right back position, and Paul Calvet-Planellis will be in midfield for them as Carter Manley starts this game on the bench. And on the flip side, it looks like Andre Santos will start on the bench, and the University of Akron center midfielder Manuel Cordero will be the one getting the start. Day 3 here, Bobby, for these players. It's a lot of soccer in a few days. They've had their full day of interviews yesterday. We heard from Francis Atua-Wene, who said he went through 6 interviews with the coaching staffs. How do you find the energy to put out a good showing today?
That's the question, and that's exactly what coaches will be looking for. This is a lot of soccer in 3 days. Your body does get a little tired, but the fact is your body does not get too tired to play this game. So one thing coaches in the stands will be looking for will be their mental toughness. Do they just continue to fight through, or do they show signs of wearing? Because at this age, with the level of excitement they should have, they should be okay to put in the 80 minutes today. And it's a test of their mental toughness, and that's something that people in the audience will want to see. Our
head official, Jorge Ramirez, for this one. His 2 assistants, Albert Escobar and Sam Gillespie. His 4th official is Yusri Ruldoff. And in these games, we will have video replay, so the VAR for this one is Jorge Gonzalez, as we are kicked off here for the final day of 2018 Adidas MLS Player Combine action. These players, one last opportunity to show off for these coaches who have scouted them for years now in college play, some of them through the development academy since they were young. And soon their dream will come true as they'll have an opportunity to play professional soccer. Bobby, you're a player here. This is what you've dreamt about your whole life. You're so close. Where are your emotions? How do you stay focused on what you're doing today?
It's really hard. I'm not going to lie to you, David. It's really hard to play this much soccer in 3 days. It's really hard to care this much for 3 days because you come in and you're more nervous, you're more excited than you've ever been in your life, and to hold that heightened level of intensity for this long is difficult. But at the end of the day, that's what being a professional is about. People think it's about your technical ability or your athleticism. Being a professional soccer player is about showing up ready to compete for your job every single day. And that's what's nice about this third day. It's not as much about soccer. It's not as much about the quality of the play, but are these kids ready to show up and turn what they've done their whole lives as a mere game and turn into their profession?
Gordon Wild, the striker out of Maryland, who had 17 goals in his junior year but struggled last year, the one who earns that foul. Paul Marie, who we've seen play in midfield most of his career and most of this combine, playing out at right back. And you talked about in the last game, maybe that's a good thing. That means coaches are looking at him and want to see what he does in different scenarios.
Paul told us that first day when we did our interviews that he prefers right back. He enjoys it the most. He thinks that's his best position. And if he were to make an MLS player in 5 years, he suspects it'll be at his right back. So it's nice to see him getting a place to play where he feels most comfortable.
All of these players forced to move around a little bit as we have so many who play similar positions. A lot of number 9s here, a lot of number 6s, and number 10s as well. And so players have had to play out of position. For some, it's been an advantage. We'll see in the second game, Brandon Bai getting another start at right back. They're playing as an attacking player throughout his college career. He's shown well for himself in that role. We've seen a few other players show that they can shift their position.
And for Paul Murray, there have been good performances from outside back. Brandon Bai has shown, even though he played attacking positions growing up, that he can transition to right back. Manley's had a couple good days. Segber's had a couple good days. Right back is actually a pretty heavy, a loaded position in this draft. So it'll be tough for Paul Murray in just one game to show that he can do it.
I'm actually quite excited to see Francis Atuahuene go up against Mark Segbers. Segbers, I think, has attacked well from that position. Hasn't been tested enough defensively for us to know how comfortable he is. And so today could be an interesting day for him as Atuahuene, who's one of the Generation Adidas signings out of the University of Michigan, a Right to Dream Academy player. We'll have the opportunity to run at him.
It's a good start by Mo Adams. After missing the first 2 days with the visa issues, he's active early on. One thing we've heard from coaches is that they know he's a good soccer player, but questions about his athleticism.
And he was a player at Derby County, didn't end up earning a contract, went over, trialed with Blackburn, was going to agree to a deal. As this cross comes in, slid away by Bumpus. But he tore his ACL right after earning that contract. Blackburn rescinded it and ended up here in the U.S. to play college soccer. And he now will play in Major League Soccer. We'll find out where he's going. At 11 a.m. on Friday, the MLS Super Draft streamed on MLSsoccer.com. It'll be Andrew Wiebe alongside Bobby Warshaw, Matt Doyle, and Kalen Carr in the studio, and Susanna Collins will be on the floor getting all the interviews for you as Perot gets his shot away, and it's saved. Bobby,
I'm really excited for that show.
Yep.
I'm really, really excited for that show on Friday.
It should be a good one, this draft class. It's been an interesting one to explore, I think, with these coaching staffs, Bobby. No one's really exploded in this combine. No one's really taken people's breath away, and everyone at the top, for example, Jean Moutinho, there's been big question marks. And so right now I think there's a lot of fluidity. What will happen at the top? Of course, LAFC, the number 1 pick, they've only got 11 players on their roster right now, so they could move that pick to get some more assets. Myself and Bobby Warshaw will go through a full mock draft in our second broadcast. That'll start at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, that one between Team Tango and Team Nemesis. Some really exciting players to watch in that one. Chris Mueller, of course, in the attack for his squad. One of the seniors that's already been signed, had 20 assists this year at the University of Wisconsin. And he is forever going forward. Bumpus with the mistake. Fortunately lands at Van Kazel's feet. Looking for the through ball to Gainford. And the offside flag goes up.
That's the second time Team Predator center back's been caught in possession. And this is what we talk about with focus. Can your mind stay sharp? Can it make good decisions? Because what happens is these kids go from playing 3-4 month season in college soccer or playing club soccer and getting some time off every now and then. When you get drafted, it's 10.5, 11 months of competing every single day. And what separates the players that make it and the players that don't isn't necessarily their ability with the ball or on the field. It's their ability to play at a high level every single day, to play to the best of their ability every single day. David, the way I often explain it is that if you take a FIFA rating, for example, and you're an 80 in FIFA, the guys that make us professional players played an 80 every single day. Too many guys, their best ability, their best level is at a level 80, but they show up and one day it's a 60, one day it's a 65, one day it's a 72, back down to 60. And to be a good professional, to make it for a number of years, you need to be the guy. Even if it's only at 75, a coach would rather the player who's a 70 or 75 but plays there every single day than the player who's an 80 but plays at 60 half the time. So that's what we're going to see today. Can these guys play at this level of intensity every day? Because, yes, it's 3 games in 5 days, but the truth is it's this level, it's this intensity on your body and on your mind as a professional player every single day.
Brown goes all the way back to Fjortoft. The first step for these guys is going to be preseason, Bobby. What's that experience like? What type of level of energy do you have to expand during that? And how big a jump is it from going from college soccer to an MLS preseason?
The hardest thing to do is going in, you see all these guys you've watched on TV, who you've admired, who you've looked up to, who you know make X amount of money, and feeling like you belong. It's this really weird thing where you need to be confident but not too confident. And that's what a lot of young players struggle with. They show up and they do things, their body makes mistakes that they've never made before. Their muscle memory lapses in ways that's never lapsed before because their mind is overwhelmed. They've got too many things going through it. So for a lot of these guys, even though they're super confident they're alpha males.
Vaquero swings it wide for Brown. Onside. He clips it to the far post, just too wide for Vaquero.
Love that cross from Brown, though.
Second cross comes in and is knocked away. That play started there. Some good development out of the back this time, and Leon Schwartzer with the switch of the field. Vaquero beats the first defender, tries to get in the path of Cordero, and it goes all the way out for a goal kick.
So really the big struggle, David, as you get into preseason is finding a way to continue to play your game, not getting overwhelmed by the moment, not losing the things that you do well on a daily basis.
And then you make the team, you're excited, you're happy, and then you realize the season hasn't even started yet. Turnover here in the box and saved by Lundgaard. We talked about in the last game the distribution from these two goalkeepers specifically, Caldwell and Lundgaard, hasn't been at the same level here today so far.
I talked to a goalkeeper coach yesterday about Lundgaard and said he had a very good day, but there are a couple games in college when he struggled. And this combine did mean a lot to him. He did have to have a good combine. And they were impressed with his ability on the feet, but he did say it's not something he showed on a daily basis in college soccer. So unfortunately, to have a bad day with your feet today, as that pass was, only affirms their suspicion.
Ben Lundgaard playing at Virginia Tech, out of Greenville, Delaware. He was the PDL goalkeeper of the year. New York Red Bulls U23s last year. Played in Fresno the year before. Has been in the All-American conversation. Has been All-ACC as well.
David, these players are struggling right now. You can see their bodies struggling. You can see their minds struggling. It's a different start time today, and we mentioned the third game. Somebody needs to take initiative. Somebody needs to step up.
Corey Brown heads it away. Looking for the feet of Gordon Wild. There was Campos.
Corey Brown's stock has undoubtedly gone up in these 3 games. Played 2 positions, looked composed at each of them.
Team Predator has pressed pretty high to start this game. Now has everyone dropped in deep behind the ball.
That's a 3rd or 4th pass Paul Murray's taken right on the sideline, spinning into him, and he's dealt with it comfortably. It's a skill that looks extremely easy. You think to yourself, it's just another pass. When your back's against the line, it's skipping into you. Very few players can take that in stride like he has.
Calvet Planella showing why some people have been really high on him.
What have you heard about Calvet Planellas?
I think he's one of those guys that's not in the top 5 conversation that every team has liked. And I had one team tell me 100% he's going to be drafted, probably in the first round, but probably later on. And you can see that technical ability, right, in the calm on the ball, something that coaching staffs feel like they can work with.
From talking to Calvet Planellas, it seems somewhat clear to me that he needs to go to the right system. He's a guy who talks a lot about his belief and playing from the heart and playing in a style and a philosophy that means something to him, and that's when he gets the best out of his play. He's a guy that likes to keep ball on the ground. He likes to combine on the floor. And he needs to go to a club that believes in the same way in order to get the most out of his ability.
Schwartzer charging forward now, goes wide for Vaquero. Baccaro with the low cross. It's knocked away. Segbers follows it up to the feet of Schwarzer. Looking for Segber's run. Schwarzer still on top of it outside for Baccaro. He tries to Meg Morrison. Morrison makes a defensive play, and now Atuawene can try and take advantage of some open space up the line. His touch goes out.
Atuawene joined you on Instagram Live yesterday and was fantastic.
Yeah, he's a bright personality, a humble kid, a very honest kid, and very excited about this opportunity. It's interesting how Major League Soccer has become an it league for Ghanaians because of the successful Ghanaians that have already played in this league. Of course, David Akam right now a full international, but Harrison Awful has come over and continued to have a good Ghana national team career. He said he was a fan of the Columbus Crew SC, sitting right next to us because they've got little Accra on their squad. 4 players from Ghana in that team. Ima Boateng, an early Right to Dream Academy player who's come over and had a successful Major League Soccer career.
It's a small decision by Brown there, but I really like that. Putting his foot on it and just connecting the pass, not feeling the pressure to do too much.
Marie gets beat by that pass. Schwartzer's coming out wide. Bobby, it's been up and down. I think combine for Leon Schwartzer, he put in maybe the nicest assist. But in this game, playing in that deep midfield role, knowing Van Kazel is positionally sound, Schwartz has found the ball so far, and he's looked pretty bright for this Predator team.
This is the position he wanted to play, a disciplined 6 behind him, and when he has the opportunity to roam around the field, to get on the ball, to make plays, to be an all-around, all-action midfielder in the Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard role, as he reminds us with his European roots.
Leon Schwartz had a price at Münster in Germany. Came over, played college soccer at USC Upstate along with Gordon Wild for 2 years.
David, one thing we probably haven't talked about enough is the role of the international status on their draft prospects. How much it matters to be international, the value of an international spot in MLS right now. Because remember, if you're watching, you only get so many international spots on your roster, and you can trade them, and you can get more if one of your international players gets a green card and gets temporary citizenship. But they're always a prized possession.
It's tough to talk about in this draft because it's so international heavy. There are few American players, and there are few American players that are in the top half conversation. And so when you talk about the top of this draft class, you look at a Mason Toy, you look at a Chris Mueller, Tomas Hillard Arce, that may be it for American players, and everyone else in the top 10 picks might be foreign. So it becomes tough to talk about, Bobby, I feel like, because it's almost not a factor. Everyone's going to have to take a risk on an international guy at some point. Gordon Wild cutting in field. Good tackle there by Fjortoft. Now Schwartzer on the ball. Flips it forward for Van Kazel. Van Kazel battling to the side. There are a few international players that have U.S. green card status or U.S. citizenship. That can help them as well.
What's Van Kazel do with this? Does he connect? Does he try and do too much? A nice pass out wide.
Corey Brown now coming forward. Goes inside for Baccaro. The layoff for Cordero. Cordero shoved over from behind by Mo Adams.
When I talked to Brown, he did say that he likes that pass. Turning his hips one way and bringing the ball back across his body to the forward checking. It's something he works on often, and it's a key part of his game.
He doesn't fly forward at fullback. He's not a winger that gets in and likes to attack guys one-on-one. So you can see he likes to have options in front of him to try and get the ball off his foot a little bit earlier.
We said the same thing about Manley. Another guy who often plays center back and now playing outside back in the combine. Will they fly forward as often?
Baccaro steps up, curls it in, headed away by Morrison. Only out as far as Van Kazel's feet. Plays it in once more. Fjortoft still up the field.
A forward in his younger days.
And Andre Morrison heads it away. Fjortoft now with some space. Already has a goal in this combine. Controversial one at that, but it is a goal.
It's that kind of pass that means a lot to Cordero today. He's had a very solid couple days playing his game, but there's still questions if he has the top-end quality to make the jump.
Perot now holds off Bumpus, gets the crossway out. Tuahene arrives and puts it wide of that far post.
Fantastic play by Perot. He's been fairly quiet the first 2 days. To have a moment like that when he can turn the defender, whip across in. Tuahene didn't finish, but it was impressive for him to make the run to get to the spot. Clearly he needs to score, but most of that work was excellent by Team X.
For Atuahene, a great run to get into play, but the question mark for him is finishing. And does he have that last bit to his game and that technique to do it? We saw him hit the crossbar in the last game, have another opportunity that he put straight at the goalkeeper from a tough angle, and that one misses. I think these coaching staffs would really like to see him put one or two in to gain some confidence.
Well, the question mark isn't just finishing. It's a lot of his technical game.
Schwarzer trying to get into the box. Cordero battling with Morrison. Schwarzer goes down, and no call made.
And it's one of the things that coaches always have to think about with their draft. How polished of a player do you take? How much of a project are you willing to take? Atuahene probably has as many raw skills with the athleticism and his pace and his acceleration as anybody in this draft, but he's a project. You need to work with him. You need to coach him. And some coaches need to win right away. Some coaches don't feel confident they can develop those skills. I mean, it's one of the core questions in any draft. It's how much do you draft on ability and how much do you draft on potential.
24 goals in his college career, 21 years old already. A lot of coaches find it as players get into their early 20s harder to develop players and change their habits. Atuahene goes by one defender, puts the cross in. It's just a little too far for Perot. Brown there looking for Gainford.
Another great pass by Brown.
You like that pass? It's not too dangerous?
I very much like that pass. To me, that's what separates an okay player from a guy who can make the jump to the next level. Can he make a pass like that in trouble? And he executed it. There's a lot of teams, you know, the Columbuses, the New York Cities, the Torontos, that want to play out of those spots, and they have to have guys that they can trust to play in difficult situations. And Brown has shown that a few times. So, yeah, it's a tough pass, but at the end of the day, if it's at the core of your club's philosophy to play out of the back, then you've got to take those risks. And the margins are always slim. There's always going to be times to be like, oh, was that a good decision? That was really close.
Bumpus goes wide for Brown. Back inside for Gainford. Out wide for Corey Brown, who cuts it in for Schwarzer. The one-touch pass to Beccaro, and his shot is just wide, but that's some good soccer there from Team Predator in red.
Fantastic all the way around. Brown impressing again, but Schwarzer with that one-touch layoff. And it wasn't just a technical ability to lay that off, but for him to think in advance and have his body and his mind ready to play to Beccaro was excellent.
Schwarzer and Corey Brown having really good days so far in this one. Beccaro's been very active as well. Schwarzer on the ball once again. Looking for the feet of Beccaro. It's intercepted, and now Perot has some space to run into. He's one-on-one with Fjortoft. He goes wide for Atuahene early, and Segbers defends it well.
So if we look at this moment, David, we talked about the third day and the mental acuity. Perot gives that ball away, and he stops for a second. He throws his head up in the air. I talked to Aleko Eskandarian, who was the #1 pick in MLS. Then he coached for the Cosmos. He had a good coaching and a good playing career. And I said, Aleko, what's one thing you're looking for when you were coaching in this combine or when you're looking at draft players? And he said a big thing are the reactions. When they give the ball away, what do? Do they try and get it back right away? Do they put their head down and be upset?
Atuahene's shot is blocked, alive in the box now, and the save made by Caldwell.
What a save. That took perfect reactions, too. It didn't just hit him. He had to stick his left foot out. Both reactions and agility.
Well, Atuahene's cross was blocked. It was a late arriving run, I believe, from Calvet Planelas. And he got as much as he could on it, and Caldwell, outstretched foot, is able to make the save. Saw Caldwell have a fantastic game. Or excuse me, Jeff Caldwell. Well, yeah, you saw him have a big game in day 2, making some diving saves. He does so again there. A misplayed pass off the foot of Ruiz. Albert Ruiz has been a little bit anonymous so far in this one. Most of the attack's gone down Sam Gainford's side.
Look Moana's movement on this. He's the pure 6 on Team X. He was clean in possession, but ultimately he left that middle of the field. We talked about it Chris Lemley yesterday. It's not just what you do with the ball and whether you connect passes, but your intelligence in positioning and spacing.
Ball down the line for Ben White. His cross is blocked. Now Segbers looking to get out of his own half.
I like Morrison.
And he turns it over. Leon Schwartzer wins the header, and he'll earn a free kick as well.
I was just about to say.
See that touch from John Becerra?
It was a good touch. If you're watching not just the play here, but if you're watching behind the play, Morrison, we talked to Bob Bradley about this yesterday. Well, Bob Bradley called from his time in Norway offensive marking. Team X was in possession. The team in white was in possession, but their center back Morrison was stepping to the player for Predator, Becerra, preparing for when his team lost the ball. He was thinking in advance. He wasn't just watching the play. He was thinking, what can I do if my team loses it? What can I do to help win the ball back, even a few seconds before it could even happen? That's something the coaches will love to see.
Morrison, 24-year-old out of University of Hartford, young Jamaican center back. That conversation with Bob Bradley came up in talking about Walker Zimmerman and Lawrence Simon, two aggressive center backs. Andre Morrison cut in the exact same role, likes to step to the ball, likes to attack defensively before something can develop. Be interesting to see for a player like that where he ends up, if he can end up in the right system, that he can really develop and be an effective player.
And David, you asked Bob a fantastic question.
Okay, you don't need to compliment
Well, it was a fantastic question. You just said you have got two center backs who are similar. You have two aggressive guys who like to attack the ball.
Yeah, Simon and Zimmerman don't seem like a pairing. Personally, I see the center back position and the center midfield probably as the two biggest contingent on who you play with positions in soccer. Yeah. But he feels like they both bring this one attribute that they can work together in the right system to play together.
Yeah, it's certainly fair to wonder about their partnership based on traditional terms. When Bob said, I'm not thinking like that. You know, I'm trying to think a little bit outside the box, and he thought they both fit the mold of the style he wants to play.
Bob Bradley back in Major League Soccer for the first time in 10 years. He's ready to light this league on fire with LAFC. Of course, they've got Carlos Vela and Diego Rossi in the fold, and Benny Feilhaber. They'll have the #1 pick in the Super Draft as well. It's Campos to take, headed away by Fjortoft.
Sorry, David. I was just getting frustrated with some of these players who could clearly just checked out and weren't as in tune to defending that set piece as they should have been.
Morrison out wide. He plays the cross in, and Fjortoft clears it. Andre Morrison once again showing his attacking ability.
Watch for the counter from Team Predator. Wild tried to play in a tough spot, and they don't have the numbers back.
So Gainford out wide left. Going to take advantage. He's got a good run from Cordero on the far side. He lays it into Cordero's path. Manuel Cordero's shot is blocked.
Paul Marie made a fantastic recovery there, but this is the problem with judging defenders. He only had to make the recovery because if you look at the initial movement by him, the initial recovery run, he got pulled out of position. He followed the forward, who made a great run across the lanes. And instead of Paul Marie passing him on to the center back as he should have, he followed him. So we talk about, I've said several times this week, David, how tough it is to transition to outside defenders for these little details. When do you follow a player? What's your spacing? And here Paul Marie made the wrong decision going into his center back's lane. He got dragged out, which is exactly what the forward should do. I wish I'd noticed who's made that run because it was a fantastic run.
I believe it was John Becerra.
Becerra made a fantastic run to pull Marie out. It worked. And then here Marie has to make the sliding tackle, so credit for the recovery, but we can't just get lost by the gorgeous tackle and miss what happened before.
You brought João Moutinho into the quote-unquote war room earlier this week to talk about a similar play in transition where he attacked the ball. As Becerra tries to play the cross in, it's blocked by Morton. Morton now out to defend one-on-one. And Becerra goes all the way back to the top of the box to Schwartzer, who was trying to line up the volley and instead plays the pass to the feet of the defender. Segbers heads back for Fjortoft, all the way back to the goalkeeper, Caldwell.
David, where do you think Becerra plays on an MLS team?
I don't know, and I was asked to do an MLS doppelganger article, and me and Sam Stayskoll working together came up with Michael Deleu, which I think is as good a comparison as you can get because I think Michael Deleu is a great soccer player, and I don't think he's a winger, and I don't think he's a number 10, and I don't think he's a forward. But your team seems to be better with him on the field. You have to find a way positionally to cover for that because he's going to float and find spaces. The question mark is John Becerra good enough for you to build something around him like that? I think he plays on a team that maybe plays with a wingback, and he's allowed to play infield in that midfield because he doesn't have to give width, but he's not a true center midfielder who has to cover space because he has numbers behind him. Or he plays on a team out wide that has a winger who can go up and down and cover the space behind him, similar to what Columbus does with Harrison Awful and Jimenez.
I put him and Chris Mueller in the same category on this. When I watch these games, they are clearly the players that have the most comfort on the ball, the most ability to manipulate and deal with the soccer ball in all situations. And I just wonder where they play. I wonder how a coach uses them. I worry. Now, Mueller's more athletic than Baquero and plays a little bit faster. But I worry for Baquero that he goes to a place and the coach says, play quicker, run quicker. And Baquero just looks at him and says, that's not who I am. I'm a very good soccer player, but it's not in those ways.
It'll be interesting to see a guy who has such great technique maybe be around players who are of a higher quality. He doesn't feel like he has to create everything himself if he can get the ball off his foot quicker and move it around. I mean, I'm not trying to just speak in cliches, but his dad's a Barcelona legend, played under Johan Cruyff. He grew up around the Barcelona system, so the idea of moving the ball quickly and playing short passes shouldn't be completely foreign to him.
Yes, and maybe he adapts once he is no longer the man.
He just smells like an FC Dallas player. He's a guy who likes to play in the attack. FC Dallas has trusted college strikers and college attackers more, and he's not going to press high like Maxi Urruti. I don't think he's going to play that role.
I would disagree.
Yeah?
I just don't think he has the energy or the bite. He doesn't have that natural hustle to him. You know, he's a glider. He thinks a little bit more. Sometimes Oscar just acts as guys to, buckle down and go, go, go. And I'm not sure Baquero has that in him. So even if I think to myself, if I'm a coach, I say a wonderfully gifted soccer player, probably in my top 2 or 3 on a big board, but I don't know how I'm going to play him, so I don't draft him.
Yeah. At the same time, right now where the draft stands in Major League Soccer might just be about getting talent. They're going to play a lot of time in USL most likely for a lot of these players as Baquero now gets forward one-on-one with Morrison. Andre Morrison out to defend him. Baquero gets to his right foot. Tries to whip a cross in for Ruiz and can't.
Brown with another excellent pass. Not only another excellent pass, but a different type of pass. A couple times now we've seen him come across his body with an entry ball into the forwards. This time clips a perfectly weighted ball into a channel. Which you think to yourself, we talk about players, oh, he's a good passer, he's a good distributor. The fact is there's a range of different options on how a player passes and how he gets the ball off his foot. And obviously, the more options you have, the more dangerous you can be in possession.
Segbers tries to close on that pass early. It gets to Ben White. Now at Tuahene's one-on-one with Fjortoft. Tuahene's cross played in, and it's knocked away by Bumpus.
Well defended by Fjortoft. And Tuahene has to beat him there. Tuahene has to say, if I'm going to make my mark, if I'm going to have coaches want me and say they need to have me, I've got to beat a center back on the run.
Well, the birthday boy coming on, Nate Schultz, Kit Kat himself, the best rapper in this draft class, just turned 22 years old yesterday, and he'll come on for Mark Segbers here. Early on in this game, they are 40-minute halves, as they've been all combine. So we'll play an 80-minute game. There will be stoppage time as the referee sees fit at the back end of those two halves, but about 12 minutes left to play, and Schultz comes on for Segbers.
One of my favorite moments from Combine so far was on the first day. It wasn't a Tuahene who ran at Nate Schultz and spun him a couple times, exposed his 1v1 defending ability. Whoever it was, we saw Nate Schultz at dinner that night, and we called him out for it. And he was just so, I don't want to applaud him for feeling sad, but you can tell that it hurt him. I didn't even have to say it. I said, hey, Nate, what'd you think about your game? He said, oh, man, my defending, my 1v1, I can't believe I did that. And it's just so nice to see these young players show the self-reflection in their game and be, like I said, I never want anybody to be sad, but it kind of helps to be sad at times when you mess up. It helps to be really distraught over performance because that's where growth comes from. I don't want these guys to be smiling if they play bad. You got to move on. You've got to live your life. But for better or for worse, to grow as a player, you need to see your faults, and they need to hurt you. You've got to want to fix them or else you can't really breathe the next day. And there's something satisfying about seeing Nate Schultz thinking about his game and wanting to fix it.
Corey Brown comes in and makes that interception. I think you used the word we incorrectly there because I was not a part of this conversation at all, this mental torture of Nate Schultz here at Combine. What's been interesting for Team Predator in this game, Bobby, is you've got Albert Ruiz, who was a center forward in college, can play out wide. Baquero, who's a center forward that likes to come out wide, and Sam Gainford, who played in a two-forward system. And all three of them have really moved a lot, and it's allowed coaches to see Baquero out wide where he seems a little bit more comfortable.
As we said, very few of these players are going to step right into a starting spot. They're going to go to a reserve. They're going to go to a bench. And they've got to show that this is true. I mean, having been a guy that spent more games than I would have liked as a reserve coming off the bench, you've got to show you're useful in multiple spots. We've got 7 spots off the bench. There might be 15 scenarios at the end of a game, 15 different types of player a coach wants. So if you can be a few of those, if you can be the hold-up striker, if you can be the winger, heck, if you can be the center back that clears away headers, it's valuable. So that's one thing that these coaches and GMs are thinking about, right? They're not just thinking about who can help my team right away, who can help me situationally.
And think about last year, and I guess Columbus keeps coming up because they're sitting next to us, but Lalas Abubakar, a center back taken early on and was basically a closer for them, would come in late when teams were pumping the ball down the field as Nate Schultz gets forward, trying to find the run there of Schwartzer.
Some of these plays get me fired up. Kids who don't really know each other, still finding ways to connect, still finding ways to express themselves in the final third.
You also talked about recovery. Nate Schultz immediately gets back into his space, keeping his body open to the play. Caldwell makes the first save. Able to get up.
Here in the booth, David was pointing to the recovery one. He wants me to talk to Nate Schultz, and I'm too fired up about the combo.
Well, he was part of the combo as well. Van Kazel on the ball now. Another steady game. Gainford comes in to pick this ball up. Atua Hene makes the recovery run, forcing the turnover. Now looking for a teammate. Switch the field to Wild. Back to the foot of Adams. Mo Adams here in his first display. Gordon Wild showing his skill a little bit as Adams now goes on this run. The turnover to Marie. Paul Marie with the cross to Atua Hene. One-on-one now with Schultz again. And he gets the shot away and it goes just wide.
Paul Murray hasn't been super active in any of these 3 games. But one thing we've noticed, David, is that he's a good striker of the ball. When he's had chances to make a pass or clip a long ball or play a cross, that he's been very sharp and very efficient. One thing I wrote for MLSsoccer.com on the first day of this combine is you're not always looking for the best player. You can't always trust someone who's good in college will be a good professional player. Instead, you're looking for certain attributes that you can trust will transfer. And I mentioned, after talking to David, who brought up originally, is that striking a ball is something you can trust. When he crosses a ball, when he plays a long ball, when he makes a pass, it's always the same. The field is the same. The situation often looks the same. So something like Paul Murray showing he's a very good striker of the ball is something that MLS coaches can trust they'll see on their practice field as well.
Corey Brown goes out in place of Justin Fittis, who comes on at left back. Brown, you could see, pull up with a little bit of a muscle problem after that ball went flying over his head just a few minutes ago, and so he's back on the bench with the athletic trainer. Schultz with the pass into the feet of Ruiz. Morrison comes powering through to win that ball. He continues his run. Marie now pushing forward. Pass out a little bit too far in front of him, and Fittis earns the throw-in. And he's going to go quickly now to Baquero with Marie out of place and Morrison out of position. A chance. Baquero's ball outside of the foot wide. Schwartzer cuts in. Excuse me, it's Gainford, and his shot goes over everything.
That's the type of pass that has some coaches salivating over Baquero. We've already mentioned his potential faults, the potential questions. But that pass, in his own stride, playing it outside of the foot, weighted properly into his teammate's stride, is not something players at any level can do.
Yeah, I don't know that I see a lot of players play that outside of the foot pass like that at full speed.
And there it is again, reading the game early.
This one into the path of Ruiz. Early cross to Cordero. Back touch to Baquero, who's got time and space and rips the shot. Manuel Cordero lays it off, and John Baquero puts that strike past the goalkeeper here in the 35th minute.
The full scouting report on Baquero talks about how good he is in the box. These little feints, these little movements, this intelligent in his finishing, where to place a shot. And with strikers, a lot of the times at this level, they're big, they're strong, they're athletic, but they're questions of, do they really know what to do in tough spots? Do they really know what to do with numbers around them? And Baquero a few times has separated himself from those situations. He's shown that he is more ready to move up to a next level in terms of pure soccer ability.
Baquero beating his Barcelona compatriot Paul Calvet-Planelas there on that dribble and ripping that strike past the goalkeeper. But fantastic buildup we've seen a couple times from this side in red, Team Predator.
Cordero with the layoff, who I'm much higher on than you are.
Yeah.
I've said all 3 days I thought he's had a good game, and you said, yeah, has he?
I thought he gets in good spots. I think he's played well, but his touch isn't as clean as I would like to see from a player who wants to play one-touch soccer, especially in tight spaces. I thought passes have popped up on him. I thought he's misweighed a couple passes to teammates. That layoff right there was beautiful. It allowed Baquero to go in. But if he pops that ball up in the wrong way and Baquero has to take a touch higher up on his leg, he doesn't have a chance to beat that defender. Cordero now dragged down by Morton.
Play. What are you guys doing? He's wide open. That's what we need. Oh, man.
We've seen a few players play quickly so far in this game, as you see the replay here, and Team Predator has restarted play now.
What's Wild going to do here? He needs to connect this pass. Nicely done.
Mo Adams now trying to go forward. He was a star player at Syracuse University, but did not put up statistics. That was not his game. Mo Adams coming out of the Darby County system, as we said.
I like Morton here. Even before Lundgaard had the ball, Morton was looking up. No one was going to come to him, surveying his options. Again, as the ball is rolling to him, you can see his head on the swivel, seeing what's next.
Mo Adams, as I said, 1 goal, no assists in his 2 years in college. Played some PDL as well with Reading United. As that shot hits the crossbar, Caldwell gets a touch to it and off the iron and back out the other way.
Caldwell definitely should have done better with this. Someone we've been very impressed with, has shown his ability with his feet, but that's really the first shot he's had to deal with. The first shot.
He made a big save already today. He made the kick save earlier on.
He did make the kick save. You're right. I apologize. First shot with his hands. The first shot stopping. You know, the kick save was pure responsiveness, pure agility. With shot stopping technique, that's one he needed to do better on.
So, Bobby, about 2 minutes to go in this 40-minute first half here of the first game of the last day of the 2018 Adidas Player Combine.
Look at the run from Gainford here. What's Gainford's movement? Is he looking across the line? Is he keeping pace? He's slowed down.
Schultz now wants the ball back. Gainford comes in field.
Gainford mistiming that and slowing down hurts his momentum and hurts the whole attack.
Schwartzer to the feet of Cordero. Looks like that pass hit our head official. And a chance for Team X to go out the other way. Bobby, who shined for you? Who's had a good first half, has helped their stock here early on in this early kickoff of the third day of soccer?
Brown, undoubtedly, from the left back position for Team Predator.
Cutting in field now is Wild on his favorite left foot. It's blocked by Fittis.
We've talked a lot about Baquero, right? He had a good moment. I'm not sure. I mentioned that he's the most ready with his feet and with his soccer ability to go to the next level. We've talked extensively about what that means and how he's going to be used, but today definitely affirmed what he's capable of. To me, Cordero's had a very good few days, and Leon Schwartzer's another guy who's been active. He's gotten on the ball. I mean, all coaches have something they're looking for. One thing I look for in these center mids is, do they just have a sense of getting involved in the game? To me, you can teach a player pass selection. You can teach them little nuances like what to do with your hips, thinking in advance. But just the general instinct to be involved in a football match, to get around the ball, is something that you can't teach. So there's a few of these center mids. Krolicki has shown it. Cordero's shown it. Schwartzer. Von Kazel's shown a nice instinct. You know, that pass from Schwartzer, yes, it's a giveaway, and yes, it's bad, but it actually doesn't worry me that much. To me, that's the kind of thing, if I'm a coach, I'll just say, listen, dude, don't make that kind of pass. I don't want my center mids to do that. You can't do it. I don't want you to do it, so just cut it out of your game. Right? He's good enough to make the kind of passes that most coaches should want out of their center mids, and he has an instinct.
Comes back down the field and fouls Atu Ahene. I would agree with you, and I'd have to say the way Team Predator has played and controlled this game, you have to compliment all three of those central midfielders. So it's been Cordero, Van Kazel, and Schwartzer. I think they've controlled play defensively, and they've controlled the pace of this play offensively. Baquero's had a good game. There's no two ways about it, and he's a player that a lot of coaches like, and they won't be upset with what they've seen so far today.
Team Predators controlled all 3 games. I told you before the last game, before the second day, that I thought they would get outplayed. I thought they'd get complacent. They didn't. They still bossed the game.
So it's Paul Marie now running off this one, quickly taken by Wild with the left foot. It's the top of the wall and goes out. Every single free kick that's been shot in this combine has hit a wall. Not like metaphorically. They've hit the actual wall.
Around the world.
Bobby, you a dangerous free kick taker?
I'm a horrible free kick taker. Most free kicks are always horrible.
Paul Marie now will take this corner kick. Fjortoft has it away. Wild trying to turn on this one. He can't get his foot over it. And it'll squirt out of bounds, and that'll be the last play of the half. Team Predator with a 1-0 lead over Team X in white. In the 35th minute, John Beccaro with his first goal of the competition. Bobby, a good performance for Team Predator. Anyone from Team X, have they stood out for you mainly? Have you seen anything from Mo Adams in his one day here so far?
Adams' movement has been sharp, and the fact that you can see from his center of gravity, he's low to the ground, he's strong, he's got good balance. I also like his pass selection. And the fact that when you watch a lot of center mids, we've talked about Chris Lemma's passing, but do they pass and then do they move? It seems that Mo Adams has that sense of, I'm going to give it and I'm going to go get another option. I'm going to go provide another option. I'm going to go find a new space. So yes, I've liked what I've seen from Mo Adams in the first 45 minutes.
John Beccaro, the son of a Barcelona and Spanish legend, already signed for Major League Soccer. These players get 40 more minutes to show these coaches that they deserve to be drafted on Friday at 11 a.m. at the 2018 MLS Super Draft on MLSsoccer.com. We'll be back in just a moment with all your second half action. Welcome back for second half coverage of the opening game of the last day of the 2018 MLS Player Combine, sponsored by Adidas here in Orlando City, in beautiful Orlando City Stadium, just over 50 degrees and sunny here in Central Florida. Team Predator in red going left to right against Team X in white, going right to left in this one. As we've seen in every game, a number of substitutions for both these teams coming out of the locker room. For Team Predator in red, it'll remain the same along the back line. Nate Schultz, Marcus Fjortoft, Alex Bumpus, and Justin Fittis. In midfield, once again in the holding role, it'll be Francis Van Kazel. Alongside him will be Xavier Gomez. And in front of them will be Rafael Santos, who we thought would start at the beginning of the game. Out wide on the wings, you've got, looks like John Baccaro on one side. On the flip side for Team X in white, there'll be a whole host of changes for them. This is Mamadou Giarsi out of NJIT, and Carter Manley here on the ball. He'll partner Andre Morrison at center back here in the second half. Ben White will remain in at left back for this second period. Like in the midfield for Team X, Chris Lemma will come back in. He'll play alongside Mo Adams, so Lemma will play farther up the field in this day 3 competition than we've seen him play most of the time. And Jason Wright will be in midfield in their attacking role as well. Mamadou Giarsi will play straight up the middle at center forward. And Will Bagru will be up top as well, a part of that attacking 3 for this side. We've got Brian Olosky in there as well. And the last move seems to be Paul Calvet-Planelas shifting. Van Kazel loses the ball to Giarsi. And now back the other way for Team X, trailing 1-0 in this one. Olosky has it knocked away by Van Kazel. Mo Adams follows up the play to clean up possession for his side.
David, you know what I'm going to say about these next 3 halves to finish up the Combine? And I've been holding this in for a few games. The big thing for me at this point is we've talked about the possession's been good, the passing's been good. Some players have looked good and shown their talent and shown their ability on the ball. But who can we say about this Combine has been the leader, that's raised the intensity, that's raised the competitive edge, that's really organized his guys, that's found a way to get a tackle, that's found a way to get it close, that's pushed his teammates to get close? And it's not as nice as it's been to see the high level of soccer. And the reason I bring this up, David, is I worry this is just an emblem of American soccer right now. It's that we're trying to produce more passers. We're saying we need to get better at soccer, but we're losing the competitive edge. That these players are undoubtedly a next level of overall soccer player than we've seen before, but are they as competitive? And if you're not as competitive, if you're not willing to get close, if you're not willing to compete, if you're not willing to solve problems on the field, then how much does your ability to pass matter? And believe me, anyone that hears me talk soccer knows how much I love playing the ball on the ground, knows how important I find ability on the ball to be. But we can't lose that at the cost of competing. We can't lose that at the cost of being able to solve problems on the field. So as I watch this game, I've said every day how impressed I am with the level of play. And I just wonder how much has the level of play been good, because no one has been out there taking charge saying, we're not going to let the other team play. Now, I appreciate these guys wanting to show their ability, but sometimes in a soccer game, especially over a 34-game MLS season, you have to say, listen, it's not my day to play soccer. It's my day to make sure they don't play soccer. And I just hope as we talk about development in the American soccer system, we don't continue to push passing, playing, developing players who are good on the ball and forget this other element of the game, especially this other element that has been our thing and has helped us be good in previous years.
Poor pass there from Gomez, and I think that goes perfectly into the conversation as that shot's ripped over the top from Bagru of CONCACAFing. And one of the things people worry about is as you have players in cleaner facilities consistently playing in MLS academies, do they learn how to win when the field grass is 8 inches longer than it should be?
Yeah.
And they haven't slept the night before, and the other team takes a dive or takes as much time out of the clock as they can, and the game never gets into a flow. How do you step up in a moment like that and say, the only thing that matters is 3 points when I walk out of this building?
Exactly. At that point, I said in an article earlier in the week that it's just a different sport at times. And believe me, when you go to some of those CONCACAF games, you're not playing the same sport of soccer that you're playing on a Saturday night at Home Depot Center. It's just a different task. It's a different mindset.
StubHub Center. Continue.
Sorry about that.
Continue, Bobby.
Yeah, and I just wonder if we're preparing players for that all-around, that overall approach and that all-around way to view the game.
Lemma goes out wide right. George Campbell coming forward now.
So as we talk about youth development in this country, let's make sure we talk about that too. We're not just talking about breeding players who are clean on the ball. We're building players who are willing to get tight, who are willing to compete, who are willing to do the little things to not just make their game look good, but make the other team struggle.
Mo Adams trying to work the ball in and out with the feet of Lemma. And his last pass goes wide. Mo Adams, a very trying week. He was taken off his student visa and so had trouble while his passport was away while he was registering for his work visa to come work in Major League Soccer, getting into the country. And so he ended up out of London, but not quite at his destination for the last few days, trying to figure his way out. He was very excited about playing in the Combine, and now he has the opportunity to do so. But that type of experience, not something very easy to bounce back from and then go out there, Bobby, and play in a position where your teammates and where they are and knowing where they'll be matters a lot with guys you've never met before. So it'll be a corner kick right now for Team X. They go short to Campbell.
Love that awareness from both Campbell and Olowski.
Olowski now curls it in from the far post, headed away by Fjortoft. Morrison gets to it, cuts it back for Adams.
Like Adams' ability to open his hips and get the ball in the half turn.
Back wide for Campbell. Campbell looking for the low cross, and it's blocked. And now Becerra a chance to start the attack. Rafael Santos, native of Rio de Janeiro. Played at a high level down in Brazil, did Santos. He ended his career at the Flamengo Academy after being in Boa Vista earlier on, but was in Flamengo's academy for almost 10 years. Said he was a Flamengo fan, came and tried out, and they told him they liked him, but they didn't have room that year, so come back in 12 months and try out again. He was able to make the team then at the age of 12, stuck around throughout his time before coming to the United States, playing here in Orlando with the Montverde Academy, and then going on to play college soccer at VCU, one of the best number 10s in all of college soccer. Now trying to continue his career in MLS. Giarsi coming forward. Goes wide again to Campbell. Campbell into the feet of Giarsi. The layoff for Olowski, who's offside.
Love that combination, though. Nice entry pass by Campbell. Good layup by Giarsi, and it's a good third-person run by Olowski. That's the kind of thing that coach is stoked. They work on these third-person runs all the time in training, and they don't often come off, but there it almost did.
Manley with the recovery there. Carter Manley, part of the Duke team that made the tournament for the first time in over 10 years, alongside Brian White, who we'll see in the second game, who has a goal and an assist already in this Combine, and was the PDL Golden Boot winner. And, of course, Marcus Fjortoft playing on the other side at the same position. Morrison now. We saw both teams struggle a little bit playing out of the back in the first half, as it was a slow start, 10 a.m. kickoff, the third day of competition for these guys. You've definitely seen both teams, especially Team Predator, get much more comfortable in this game. Fjortoft heads it away. Do you feel, Bobby, That there are teams in MLS that don't know how to play dirty or play messy games and get wins consistently, or you think that's a worry for the next generation that you see coming up?
Well, the big question, the one example I will cite right now was the NYCFC game.
Yeah.
When they were away at Columbus. They go down a man early on. They're down 2-0. They get the goal.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2-1, which is exactly a good place they want to be.
Just get out. You're down a man.
Maybe it was 3-1. Either way,
No,
they got to
you're
a
down
spot.
2-1.
Yeah, they got to a spot that was fine, and they keep chasing the game. They keep trying to get a goal, and they give up another. They give the fourth, so then they go back to New York, and they play brilliantly, but they win 2-0. If they had won at that scoreline and they had not given up that late goal after continuing to chase the game away, they advance. And they probably deserve to advance after that performance in the second leg against Columbus. And to be fair, Patrick Vieira has admitted that he made a mistake.
But he made the same mistake the year before as well against TFC.
Right.
It's a better team, but...
Right. So to answer your question, I do think it's still it's more of a problem with kids that are coming through the system now. Right? And especially since that team doesn't have a ton of guys who come through the American system.
I was going to say, not a lot of American-raised players. Rodney Wallace might be one of the only ones that played heavy minutes.
Right. Rodney Wallace, somebody I came through the system with, actually. He's from Maryland. We played a bunch of ODP together our whole lives.
Pretty good.
Good old Region 1.
Pretty good player.
Yeah. He was not a good player when we were assuming he made the regional team, but no, Rodney's credit, he worked really hard. He hadn't grown into that tall, lanky body yet, and he was just an okay 16-year-old.
Well, he's a player who's grown in MLS. If
Yeah.
you look from DC United to Portland Timbers and now NYCFC, he's developed a lot over the last few years, and now he's a real difference maker for Patrick Vieira's side, not just a worker in that team. That's for a lot of these guys to see. Rodney Wallace is a top pick. He was a top prospect coming out, and it took him, I think, a different coach and a couple years to figure out Major League Soccer.
I remember on those original DC United teams when he was playing defensive mid in a 3-5-2. You remember those? It was him and Pontius were rookies together, but at least in their first couple years together.
Yep.
And we're taking the league by storm.
You look at a guy like Nick DeLeon, who came out and took the league by storm at wing, and then immediately everyone said he was a right back, and he had to shift positions. You look at a lot of these attacking players, they're going to have to go through similar things at the next level.
Nick DeLeon's a really interesting case study when it comes to the draft. Because even in that first season, he didn't show the comfort on the ball. I'm a big believer, and it's not something I've talked about a ton because I'm not sure really how to weight it in a draft like this. But in general, when I evaluate a player, just can he receive a pass in a tough spot? Does he look comfortable when a soccer ball comes rushing at him?
Jones lays it back, now goes wide for Schultz. Schultz takes a touch. His cross is blocked. Still alive in the box, though. Now Nathan Schultz pulling it back out. That pass intercepted. Giarsi turns it over, and Fjortoff has it back under control for Team Predator, who stepped very high right now, pushing Team X into their own half.
And Nick DeLeon just never appeared to be that comfortable with a soccer ball at his feet. So even though he had a great first year,
Piccaro's cross is blocked away.
It always seemed destined to regress.
Giarsi now keeps Van Kazel on his back. His team's able to win possession and now look to break. Right into the feet of Lemma. Lemma goes wide.
Lemma playing a different role today. The first couple days we applaud his performance, but he was a true deep-lying midfielder. Today he's higher. He's got Mo Adams behind him. And that's significant because it changes his passing selection. When you're the deepest player,
Giarsi tries to beat Fjortoft with his touch. He at least is able to win a corner kick.
When you're the deepest midfielder, your job is only to connect passes. Make sure you have a high completion percentage. Get your team into flow. When you're a little higher, you have a little more prerogative to go forward, to make cutting passes, to make passes that lead to goals. So it'll be interesting to see how Lemma does in the second half with that new directive, that new assignment, because it changes the way you think. And it might be easy. You might think it's a game of soccer, and oh, how hard can it be? You're just connecting passes. But at the end of the day, with the game moving fast, you've got pictures in your brain. You've got heuristics of the way players are set up, and to change positions changes those pictures, and sometimes it's hard to evaluate on the fly.
So Van Kazel and Baccaro come out. Cordero and Leon Schwartzer are back in for Team Predator in red. This cross for Team X is knocked out. Mo Adams keeps it alive. And that shot curled over, and it'll go to no one. Ryan Olowski. Chris Lemma there. Out of Georgetown, part of the Red Bull to Georgetown pipeline. Coach Brian Weiss has set up, and Jesse Marsh seems to be enjoying. New York Red Bulls have already signed a homegrown out of Wake Forest. Kevin Pollitt's a center back to be a part of their team. One of the leaders in Major League Soccer in homegrown player signings and minutes. They were the leader last year by a wide margin. Schultz gets his own pass back. Trying to work in some tight space. Can't find an opening, but his team keeps possession. Schwartzer into the feet of Santos. Santos there closed down quickly and loses the ball.
That's a moment where Santos received it, where an MLS player probably does a little better there. He probably takes that ball and either gets a little cleaner on the turn and protects the ball with his body and connects the pass.
Morrison into the feet of Lemma. All these players working to prove that they can be a player at the next level for a Major League Soccer team. On Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time on MLSsoccer.com, they'll find out if they will be a 2018 Super Draft pick. That one will be hosted by Andrew Wiebe, joined by Matt Doyle, Mr. Bobby Warshaw, and Kalen Carr. Susanna Collins will be on the floor with all your coverage of the Super Draft from Philadelphia. Part of course of the big soccer convention that happens once a year. Great gathering of minds.
Team X got out there, and partially because Cordero took a mental break. Cordero could have seen his teammates were pressing. When your teammates are pressing and they get the defenders, the opposition's head down, it's your job to go to the next closest player. You make sure they can't make a simple outlet pass like that. Your teammates then follow you and take the person you had on.
When a team presses, is there any specific trigger, or is it just watching the guys in front of you and what they do, or is there a command? Is there if this guy steps into this space, everyone goes?
It's a good thought because there's different ways teams play. Some teams have very specific triggers. For example, if the ball goes from the center back to the outside back, if the ball goes behind the defense, if a ball is past one defender to the other and it's bouncing or it's not easy to receive. Those are the ones often that are set and clear. Some teams will press every time there's a turnover. They'll say you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds to go get the ball back right away.
Then you drop off.
Right, and then if you don't win it, then you get back in your shape. Some teams will say whoever loses it first goes and presses the ball right away and makes sure they can't make an entry pass. So that's one of the things that varies between team styles.
Olaski now coming forward. Plays it back for Adams. Adams was looking back into the space for Campbell, and now he slips. And Santos picks up the ball. Adams makes the tackle in open space. And eventually Team Predator does come away with it.
See that slide tackle by Adams? Something I said earlier about his center of gravity. You might think a player is just a good side tackler, but oftentimes it's because you have, we talked about John Matinho yesterday, your ability, since the soccer ball is on the ground, your ability to do actions that are close to the ground, your balance on the lower part of your body. And that's something Mo Adams has, and I'm not positive how to rate it and evaluate a player, but I really like his control of his lower body, both offensively and defensively.
Jordan Jones was onside, held by Carter Manley, but Andre Morrison beats him in the foot race to the ball. And so Team X gets away with it.
Jones moves a lot like Chris Pontius, doesn't he? Just in the way he runs, the way he strides, the way he jogs back. His mannerisms are in a Chris Pontius mold.
Chris Pontius, a big-time draft pick. Had some good years at DC United, finally broke out for the Philadelphia Union when he could get a full healthy season 2 years ago. And I think as a part of everyone, struggled last year, I guess except CJ Sapong for the Union.
My favorite Chris Pontius moment, I watched him in college when they were at Santa Barbara. And the Santa Barbara games versus Cal Poly San Luis Obispo were always awesome. 10,000 fans. And it was overtime. And Pontius goes to take a corner kick, and someone tosses a plastic... I don't know, what would you call it? A plastic
cup
bottle at him.
Okay.
And Pontius just, a 20-year-old kid just shrugs.
Very mature for him. Playing in college soccer as an attacker. Rafael Santos, you see there on your screen, another attacker who's looking to make a difference at the next level. Rafael Santos, I mentioned, out of the Flamengo Academy, playing here at Montford Academy. Montford Academy will actually be involved with the Orlando City Academy this year. Jason Christ telling us in an interview yesterday that they'll do a slight residency program, testing to see what type of system they want to build full-time, whether it's alongside a high school like Montford, who's become one of the best sports schools, prep schools around the country. Of course, Ben Simmons, right now an NBA player who came out of Montverde's academy. Or are they going to look to maybe build their own system? And we see what RSL's put together in their facility, creating a school alongside their training field for young players to become one of the best schools in Utah, as well as one of the best soccer programs in the country. Cordero's back heel. Can't find a teammate. Now, Will Bagru trying to break out for his team. That pass goes by Giarsi. Good short pass there from Caldwell to Bumpus. Alex Bumpus getting the bulk of minutes alongside Marcus Fjortoft in this one, as we are 60 minutes in to this first game, 40-minute half, so 20 minutes left to play. We've got another one coming up right after this one at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Team Tango versus Team Nemesis. A lot of big-time players to see on those two teams. Ima Tumwasi, a Generation Adidas player out of Wake Forest. Marcela Acuna, one of the best strikers in this class, as that pass is too far for Justin Fittis to get under control.
That's a few this week that Fittis has struggled with in the final third. It's something he needs to prove this week. People know he's a good player, that he's athletic, that he's good with his feet, but he needs to be efficient in the final third and create goals, and that's the third or fourth opportunity he's had that he needs to show better on. It's a brave moment by Chris Lamo. This is another thing Bob Bradley talked to us about yesterday. It's just bravery within his team. The willingness to take the ball in tough spots.
Bagru trying to find some space. You've seen a lot of the players who are center forwards but can play out on the wing rotate a lot in this combine in the run of play. And a player will swap in and another guy will peel out wide for a couple minutes. So these players getting an opportunity to show their versatility, not just from the coaching staff, but from the run of play. I think I mentioned off the top, Bo Ashayani and Adrian Scola, the coach of Team X, but you mentioned how well Team Predators played. John Trask out of the University of Wisconsin, and Luchi Gonzalez, the FC Dallas Academy director and U17 coach, probably the most important person in the world of U.S. soccer, Mr. Luchi Gonzalez. And very little surprise that his team that has his fingerprints on it plays some quality soccer. Of course, FC Dallas right now is a homegrown academy factory.
Chris Olowski showing that he can use his body well. Despite his small size, holds off two defenders just from good positioning. We've talked a couple times this week about just putting your front foot in front of the defender's movement to tackle the ball. Either you block him off or you take the foul. And Olowski did that twice in a row there to hold off bigger opponents.
Olowski, more of a dangerous winger growing up, is famous for a couple of freestyle trick videos, famous for some great goals that he scored coming off the wing. But he's played more centrally in this combine, has shown that he can survive around some of the bigger bodies and keep play moving, doesn't have the play die at his foot while he tries to create something that's shown good versatility for these coaching staffs. He also was a finalist on a TV show called The Chance by Nike. 16 players from around the world were picked, and he was one of them. The only American.
Love that read by Santos. He saw it coming 2 or 3 passes in advance and advanced 15 yards to pick off that pass. Decision making here.
Now Gomez into space. Plenty of time right now for Gomez. He looks to get by Ben White. He gets the cross in and scores. Ben White giving him plenty of time. And the goal for Justin Fittis off the bench. And it's 2-0 Team Predator.
Just as we were talking about Fittis, huh? Nicely done by Gomez. Gets his inch, gets the cross off into a good spot. Good movement by Fittis coming off the weak side. It's always hard for a defender to track an attacker coming from the weak side. The one thing that should be noted is the left back for Team X, White, needs to do better to block that cross.
So Justin Fittis there with the goal. His first goal of this combine.
It's such a tough spot.
University of Washington. Sorry.
Such a tough spot for an outside back these days because they're so concerned about handballs. They're so concerned about fouls, both of which are called more frequently now than they used to be. So there's a lot going through an outside defender's head. I can understand why White would be hesitant there, why he feels he needs to be more passive. But ultimately, you still need to make the play. You still can't allow that cross to get in.
See Alex Bumpus there. It looks like he might get the full 80 minutes here to play. Bumpus out of the University of Kentucky. Started his career at fullback, actually tore his ACL. Kentucky had a good season, came back and slid into center back alongside Jordan Wilson to help them put up one of the best defensive records in Conference USA. Former Crew SC Academy player. A little bit undersized at center back, but has handled the position well at Combine. We'll see if any coaching staff out there in the Major League Soccer world agrees with him. Of course, 23 teams this year in the league. Atlanta and Minnesota coming in last year. LAFC will hit the ground running this year. They'll have their first ever Super Draft pick right there on the top of the list. We'll go through our mock draft coming up here in the 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time game here on MLSsoccer.com. So make sure to stick around for that as we go through our big board charts and look at these teams' needs and see where these players match up as Fjortoft puts that one out. Of course, Nashville on the docket to come into play next year to bring it to 24 teams. Giarsi there with the Meg. And for the expansion teams last year, how huge was the draft? Abu Dunladi, one of the bright lights for Minnesota United. On the flip side, Julian Gressel played about every position for Tata Martino and was a difference maker. Atlanta opening up with Atlanta United 2 this year, a USL squad. So Miles Robinson, a young GA defender they took from Syracuse University last year with the number 2 pick, should have an opportunity to get some more minutes there as Albert Ruiz and Will Bagru come on. Manuel Cordero and Nathan Schultz check out. It looks like Bagru's going to go and play left back, and Fittis is going to swap over to right back. Fittis coming in rated probably the second best left back in the competition. You see Segbers there putting his hands behind his back, as you talked about handballs, and then he's able to make that slide tackle.
Yeah, nicely defended 1v1 by Segbers. You mentioned it yesterday, David, that one of the questions about these guys who have converted from winger to outside back is their ability to defend 1v1. Segbers used good technique and athleticism.
Cross played into the far post. It falls to Morrison. Laid back for Guy Rossi. His shot is blocked. It's down in the box. It looked like Fjortoft and Schwartz are playing a little bit on the ground, but no call made. Segbers heads it away on the far post. Campbell to the feet of Olaski. Back into Campbell. Garassi now once again. He goes wide for Morrison, who curls his shot, and the save is made by Jeff Caldwell.
Morrison feeling confident in the final third after yesterday's banger.
Yeah, he seems to enjoy himself up there as Garassi goes wide for Morrison, who wraps his foot around it but can't quite find it. Caldwell with the turnover off the pass.
We spent yesterday applauding his passing ability, and now both goalkeepers have given away bad passes.
Well, we have to give some credit here. A.J. Barnold, who looks like he's the data analyst at UVA, sent us a tweet, and he said, Lundgaard's feet are great with long distribution. He played long 67% of the time, which he completed a lot in college. Ben Lundgaard at Virginia Tech, and we complimented Lundgaard throughout day 2 on that pass where he clips it over the back line. He was able to lay it into midfielder's feet, which would be considered a long pass, and that Jeff Caldwell only went long 27% of the time. We see the mistake there on that long pass. So a player who wants to play the ball short and facilitate the attack a little bit more, which seems to be the way most MLS teams want their goalkeepers to play right now, is to get it into a number 6's feet or get it to one of the center backs who can create. Of course, you've got players like Michael Bradley and Will Trapp who like to come deep. Felipe, pick up the ball, and they'll be the ones that start that attack.
Yeah, it's definitely the new wave of MLS right now is trying to play out of the back and finding defenders and defensive midfielders who are comfortable in possession. As I just said earlier with Chris Lemma, who are brave in possession, willing to do things who are difficult and willing to risk mistakes because they're confident in their own ability.
And we saw in the playoff series against TFC, Tyler Adams sticking to Michael Bradley defensively to try and halt the attack before it could even get started, which was very effective in the second leg. A 1-0 win for New York Red Bulls. Of course, not quite enough. Also, there was something with Josie Altidore and Sasha Kleshner in that game, but I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Turnover here in a dangerous area.
Fantastic entry pass by White.
Right, trying to run forward.
One thing a lot of coaches say, that the most important pass is getting that first pass forward. As soon as you win it, break lines in that transition moment. And White did that extremely well.
Godoy floats that pass out. Morrison lays it back to the feet of Lundgaard. Lundgaard going long and a little bit too long, and that's over the head of Ben White.
David, how do you evaluate a player like Morrison?
It's tough. He's 24 years old, born in Jamaica, doesn't have U.S. citizenship, so he'll be an international. He's probably the player that you look at and you have to say he has to be where he is professionally. He's closest at that age. So if you're a coaching staff, you're not picking him based on raw potential. And I like the way he attacks and is aggressive, but personally it's not the way I pick my center backs. He'd need to be in the right pairing, and he needs to go to a team that plays the right system for him. He can't go to a team that wants their center backs to start the attack and pass out of the back, because that's not his game. His game is hounding the other forward, chasing them at times into the midfield. I don't know if there's a team that comes to mind for you that he fits at.
I think you're pretty spot on with that analysis.
Girassi gets the header away, and he bounces it past Caldwell and in. Mamadou Girassi, big-time goal scorer for NJIT this season, helping lead the ASUN in goals, and he gets his first of this competition.
As we said earlier, Paul Murray, fantastic striker of the ball, gets into a wide position and plays an inch-perfect cross. One thing he said in his interviews is it's something he's been working very hard on. The pace and the whip of his bent crosses from wide positions, and it showed there. And it's nice to see Mamadou Girassi, who has worked so hard this week and not had a lot of payoff, get a goal. One thing he always says is that he runs near post. He's a striker who likes to get across the defender to get to the near post, either get the ball or open up for his teammates, and there it was. The timing was good, the pace and power was excellent, a good cross, and an excellent finish.
And I love to hear that, because you have some center forwards who will consistently fall back to that far post if it gets through.
You're asking for another rant here. You're asking for me to go on another rant.
I'm always asking for a Bobby Warshaw rant. I want to apologize to Mamadou, though, and say he didn't just lead the ASUN, he led the nation in goals. With 16 goals this season, he was ASUN Player of the Year, the NJIT Highlander. Are you ready for your rant, or would you like a little bit more
lead
lead
up?
up?
I'll save it. People that have heard me do podcasts know how much I feel about the near post run.
Bobby, who's the near post runner in the acting world right now that you most want to watch in a movie? This is a very Bobby Warshaw question. I apologize to anyone out there who doesn't care about the answer. We'll move on. Bobby will think about it, and he'll come back. So Team X versus Team Predator here. Team Predator and red going left to right, leading 2-1 right now. Team X right to left just got the goal from Mamadou Girassi, trying to lead their way back. John Baquero got us started, the young Spanish player out of Wake Forest who won the Mac Herman Trophy for the best college soccer player in the nation this year. Gordon Wild has been a semifinalist for that award in the past.
I'm going to say Rachel McAdams. She puts in outstanding performances, but often the other person gets more credit, or somebody else in the cast or the crew gets more credit. And sometimes she does. Sometimes it pays off for her.
Like Mark Ruffalo in Spotlight.
Exactly.
Rachel McAdams clearly carried that movie.
Mark Ruffalo couldn't have played his game without a Rachel McAdams performance. But we remember Mark Ruffalo's name, and that's sometimes what happens with a near post run. Sometimes it works for you. More often than not, you make it easier for your teammate.
Segber is here playing at left back as we get back to soccer.
That's the kind of analysis I'm looking for in games, though, David.
And what matters. Turnover here, Mo Adams stepping up and making this play happen. The layoff now towards Adams, not quite on track, and then the foul called against him. What do you think about Mo Adams? You talked about positionally for number 6 being safe, being aggressive there, forcing that turnover and starting the attack.
Yeah, I'm high on Mo Adams so far. There's a little moment when we didn't get to comment on, but what's something that did scare me or worry me, or perhaps just the word is annoy me, is he took a throw-in on the side, and he's going to get to a professional team, and a coach is going to say, no, 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 no. My defensive midfielder does not take throw-ins. My defensive midfielder gets his butt back to the middle of the field. So it's little moments like that that have me concerned, but at the same time, I trust that a good coach can get that kind of thing out of him.
Atua Hene comes back into this one. Had a good look at goal in the first half. GA player who put up double-digit goals his freshman year at Michigan and helped lead them to a Big Ten championship in his junior year. The first ever in Michigan soccer history. Was very excited to go there and play under Shaka Daly, one of the best coaches in the college system. He actually was the head coach when Craig Weibel was an assistant coach under him. Fittis gets to the end line, puts the cross in. A little bit of a touch in that midfield, but in the end, Lundgaard comes away safely with it.
David, I think it's safe to say that we both are pulling for Atua Hene after that Facebook Live or the Instagram Live he had yesterday, just because he's a personality. And this league needs more personalities. It needs stars who are willing to put themselves out there.
We should have asked him as Giarsi gets into the box again. Gets his favorite right foot, rips the shot off the back of Atua Hene and in.
Clearly something they rehearsed on the training field.
There will be video replay here, so there is video replay. So the VAR will, of course, check this as every play is checked. If he sees a clear and obvious error in an offside position for Atua Hene, this one can be called back. But what do you think of Giarsi? The aggressive move, gets inside on his right foot and gets an angle to shoot.
It's interesting. One thing he does often is he prefers to run to the left channel. It's something about Thierry Henry's game that he often found himself, when he peels off defenders, he runs to the left side. And Giarsi says that he often works hard on cutting back to the middle and getting that shot. And he said that he usually bends the ball far post. Here he tried to go near post and catch the goalie off guard.
It seems like Atua Hene was in an offside position. It did hit off of him, so they are reviewing this one right now, or checking this one, but you would assume that it's called back.
In a professional locker room, that would cost Atua Hene a nice steak dinner.
Jorge Ramirez, our head official, listening right now to Jorge Gonzalez, who's our VAR. Howard Webb, of course, is in the building, the czar of VAR for Major League Soccer, and probably the most famous person in the hotel lobby, because Orlando is an international destination, aka there are a lot of British people here who take a lot of pictures with Howard Webb. So this play has been reviewed, and it has been overturned. So Giarsi losing that goal, or Atua Hene losing that goal. Still 2-1 to Team Predator here in the final 5 or so minutes. There will be stoppage time added by our officials. You'd expect a minute or so for that review. Atua Hene trying to come in field. He loses out to Ruiz's tackle.
I'm bummed you got cut off talking about Howard Webb, because I know how psyched you get about talking about Webb.
No, that was all that I was going to say. Howard Webb, probably the greatest explainer in world history. The guy could probably teach me how to program a NASA satellite in about an hour. He just has a clear way of communicating, and you can see why he's the type of person who can get his point across in front of 75,000 people during the biggest game of pro players' career, and why he's been valued at refereeing at some of the highest levels.
Howard Webb, fun fact, he smells great at all times.
An elite human being in the truest sense. Howard Webb rides his bike to work.
Oh,
I think he rides over the bridge. Maybe he takes the path. Not quite sure.
He's slowly moving up my idol charts as well now.
That long pass there from Caldwell, which he only did 27% of the time at UVA. Thanks again to AJ Barnold for that one. For these players, Bobby, tell me a little bit in terms of setup, of watching game tape, of analytics departments, of professional trainers, nutritionists. How much of that is different from the college level? Maybe for some of the ones that play at high-level programs like Stanford, University of Washington, to the pro level.
From the time I was in college,
yeah,
8 years ago, it's changed light years. We didn't have heart rate monitors. We didn't have analytics departments. We didn't even have someone do our analytics for us. Nobody in the country did. Maybe Maryland was the first, and it just started with heart rate monitors when I was in school. So all these things are light years ahead of where they were.
Are they close to the MLS level, or is that a lot of new information, data, lifestyle that these players have to figure out how to use?
For the most part, the information that you get is the same. The interpretation is different. Not many programs have a data analytics person for full-time on their staff, whereas MLS might have 2, 3, who knows how many Toronto has in their locked-away room with those guys. So it's not necessarily the information you have, but it's the interpretation and then the application. Especially in a condensed season in college soccer, there's stats that a guy's tired or stats that a guy needs a rest. You can't rest him when you've only got 18 games in that short span.
Segber's back to the feet of Bumpus, who has to clear it long.
It's a fine decision by Bumpus at the end of the game. They're winning. He doesn't need to take the risk. Get his team up.
Well, yeah.
Center backs, Fittis needs to hold Fjordcroft in line here. Fjordcroft is dropping too deep. Fittis needs to communicate.
Fjordcroft steps in and
nicely cleared. Now
clears that ball out.
Right now, the Team Predator line is out of sorts. Fjordcroft is higher. Bumpus is deeper. These are little things that could lead to a late goal from Team X.
Team X pushing forward. Lemma clips it over to Garassi. His touch is knocked away. Long shot from Mo Adams, and it goes wide as we enter stoppage time here.
So coaches can take that shot from Adams one of two ways. You can take it as a poor decision. He got antsy, he got selfish. Or you can say he wanted to take initiative. He wanted to be the one to make the play.
We've got a minimum of 2 minutes of stoppage time here, and then coming up in about an hour, we've got Team Tango against Team Nemesis at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, a big one to watch. João Moutinho, expected by many to be the #1 pick, but question marks around his positioning. He'll play at left center back alongside Tristan Blackman, who was one of the highest-rated defenders in this draft for Team Tango. For Team Nemesis, on the flip side, Kevin Krolicki, one of the highest-rated #6s in this draft class, alongside Alex Roldan in midfield for the squad in black. So stay tuned for that one. We will also have a full mock draft for you that we'll be doing during the second half of that game. So make sure to stick to MLSsoccer.com. Myself and Bobby Warshaw looking through this player pool and looking through the draft list. We will figure out maybe a comfortable landing spot for all these players if we can, as Wild plays that one a little bit too far in front of Girassi, who chases it. Fjordtoft has to make a touch. Girassi trying to make something out of nothing now, and he plays it away. But Bobby, talk about mentality. Fjordtoft goes into a jog, and Girassi starts running hard.
And we talked earlier about players who provide a specialty. They might not be a starter, but heck, if your team's down a goal with 5 minutes left, who do you want to bring on? And Girassi has shown he could be worthy of being that guy.
Maurice cross towards Girassi, and it's cleared by Segbers.
Predator, get their line up. Come on, Predator. Who's going to show leadership?
And Fittis right now, who's normally a left back, playing at right back, was the deepest one on that one. Lemma trying to clip it over the top for a Tuahene. He does, and Ahene's second touch is in the back of the net. Francis Tuahene had an offside called against him just a few minutes ago. The ball clipped over the top. He takes it down with his left foot and rips it home with the right.
I'll give a ton of credit to Oloski. Incredible pass, next level pass. Tuahene, what a run, gets his composure, finishes. But Team Predator, come on. The signs were there for minutes. And yes, the points don't matter in this game, but anybody watching from the stands could see the warning signs on the red flags. The line out of sorts, not getting higher, the lack of communication on the weak side. So Oloski and Tuahene, fantastic, showing quality in all sorts of ways. But Team Predator, you cannot drop points like that. People's jobs are on the line in Major League Soccer. People get fired for moments like this.
Well, a late game comeback. It was John Baquero in the 35th to get us started. Justin Fittis followed that one up to make it 2-0 Team Predator in red. But Mamadou Girassi helped drag his team back into this game. A 72nd minute goal from him, then a called off goal that deflected off Atuahene in an offside position, but Girassi continued to press high, keep the ball in the attacking third, and then Brian Iloski with a dime over the top. Atuahene shows that first touch, second touch ability to finish that one that he did at Michigan throughout his career that got him signed as a Generation Adidas Player here and will become, we hope, a star at the Major League Soccer level at the next level. Bobby, real quick, any winners and losers?
As we mentioned in the first half, Brown was excellent. Cordero and Von Kazel put in the exact same performances over those 2 games. Marcus Fjørtoft is an interesting one because he's made too many mistakes this week. On the goal there, he had the ball bounce over his head in the first game. The second day, he gave a bad pass away. But in terms of pure ability, with comfort on the ball, ability to read the game, ability to have an impact on his team, he was excellent in those three games. So I'm interested to see if a coach takes a flyer on that natural ability and tries to coach him up and get the mistakes out of him. Paul Marie was also had a nice performance in right back, doing the things that will transfer from one level to the next and put in reliable performances in all 3 days.
A big day for a group of players on Team Predator and Team X. Their last opportunity to prove what they can do to these Major League Soccer coaches here at Orlando City Stadium for the 2018 Adidas MLS Player Combine on MLSsoccer.com. We will be back at 12:25 with your second game. Team Tango versus Team Nemesis. The number of already signed players, some Generation Adidas players. Tomas Hillard Arce, 3-time captain of the national champion Stanford, as well as Ima Tumwasi, another Generation Adidas player looking to match what Francis Atuahene was able to do in the first game. Stick tuned to MLSsoccer.com.